Reboot. Irish Catholic kids call that fucked again. We just love shame, and every once in a while we step out for a little bit of joy. Let's, if you don't mind, stray into the arena of the unwell. Something I've got some experience in, I might add. To a Christmas Eve night in 1964, to a 11-year-old boy who went silent for 3 months. Didn't talk to anyone. Those were the days of desolation. Those were days when adults went to war with children. They did their best work in sacristies and in sacred places and brought a profanity that is hardly even imaginable. And as I look back, I've been haunted by that in some way, and I never knew how to tell my story. How do you tell that story? Is that a telling story? Is it a private story? Because I value privacy. I was driving around 5 weeks ago and went into a blacksmith shop in Woolwich, Maine, a giant 6'4" blacksmith that I went to school with, and I said to him, because I know him so well, before you start talking motherfucker, I gotta ask you a question. Was Sister Mary evil? And this big hulk of a guy said, you know, Marty, I've been sitting here 50 years waiting for you to come and ask me that question. And he told a story. He's illiterate. He was beaten in another story that has become a part of this story. And last week, damn if I didn't go into a coffee shop in Bath, and in walked Janice. And I'd asked her to show up because I remember her brother licking milk off the floor under the vicious gaze of this nun, licking and having to repent. And that boy stayed with me all my life. And Jerry, this blacksmith who is uneducated and can't read and write, described his jawline to me like he was the artist that he is, talked about the oval shape of his eyes and said, I've been haunted by that boy every day of my life. And his sister told a story about another boy. And she said, do you remember the time when you had to write a letter to your mother? And I was listening, and at first I thought she was like this old librarian on acid or something, and I wasn't quite getting her vibe, but then I saw her eyes come alive with story, and she said, I remember the air walking in. I remember the smell of the classroom, and I know how many steps it was from my seat to your seat. And Sister Mary said, write this letter, and in front of the class I wrote out loud, Dear Mother, I know that you are in the hospital and dying because of my behavior. And then the nun would call me Nancy Boy and Fairy Boy. And out of nowhere, as I was writing a story, I thought, why the fuck not fairies? If I'm going to be called a fairy, why don't I take that story back with myth, magic, and legend? Bring on the fucking fairies. Thanks.